The chamber smelled faintly of ozone and scorched metal, the air alive with the low hum of alien machinery. Massive holographic screens floated above the circular table, each one flickering with recordings of humanity's past wars, grainy footage of soldiers in muddy trenches, tanks grinding through ruined streets, fighter jets slicing through storm-gray skies. The alien warlords watched in silence for a moment, then the laughter began. It was not the polite chuckle of amusement, but the harsh, echoing rasp of predatory throats. Mandibles clicked. Chitinous hands slapped the table. The Xeric Dominion's High Command, 12 of the most feared conquerors in the galaxy, found Earth's battles to be little more than tribal skirmishes. From the highest seat, General Karoth leaned forward. His scaled face gleamed in the cold light, each ridge on his skull catching the glow of the projections. "Is this your species' finest?" he asked, voice deep enough to rattle the floor. The footage shifted, modern troops in body armor breaching a building. A single blade flashed across the next image, a man in lacquered plates, wearing a curved sword at his waist, standing in a polished wooden hall. Karoth blinked. "And this?" His tone dripped mockery. "Ceremonial? A costume?" The other warlords roared again, one pounding his armored fist against the table. To them, the man's stillness was laughable, a relic from a primitive age. In the shadows of a secure command center on Earth, Captain Elena Vega watched the same broadcast through a haze of static. She did not laugh. She had seen Hiroshi Takeda fight once before. That memory had stayed with her, precise, economical, utterly final. Around her, human generals argued. "We can't send him," one snapped. "A man with a sword against a Xeric gladiator? This is madness." Elena folded her arms. "It's not madness. It's the only chance we have." On the far wall, the Dominion's official challenge scrolled in alien glyphs translated into every Earth language: a single champion. A single duel. The victor decides the fate of the war. The room fell silent. The terms were clear: lose, and Earth would surrender unconditionally. Win, and the Dominion would retreat. In a quiet district of Kyoto, far from the shouting and strategizing, Hiroshi Takeda knelt on a tatami mat. The soft crackle of candlelight cast shadows over the steel plates arranged before him. His movements were deliberate, unhurried, as if each action carried centuries of memory. He lifted the chest armor, the plates whispering against one another. His fingers lingered on the familiar dents, the faint scratches, marks of training, not battle. From a wooden rack, he drew his katana, its curve catching the flicker of the flames. The blade was mirror bright, but near the guard, an inscription ran along the steel. He traced it with one finger. A photograph rested nearby, faded, the edges curled. A young man in mining overalls, smiling awkwardly at the camera. Hiroshi's son. Killed 5 years ago when a Xeric raiding party hit an off-world colony. The Dominion had called it an unfortunate incident during resource acquisition. Hiroshi said nothing. He simply slid the blade back into its scabbard. Hours later, he stood on the tarmac of a military airfield, his armor gleaming in the early morning light. Elena approached, her expression a careful balance between respect and worry. "They're expecting you to die in the first minute," she said quietly. Hiroshi adjusted the strap on his shoulder plate. "Then I must make the first minute last." Across the galaxy, in the Xeric capital, Karoth prepared his own champion, a towering gladiator named Vorthag, a veteran of 100 duels. Vorthag's claws were sharp enough to pierce armor plating. His weapon of choice, a plasma-forged spear. The duel was scheduled to be broadcast to every Dominion-controlled world, every human settlement, every corner of known space. Billions would watch. In the warlord's chamber, Karoth leaned back, satisfied. "Let them send their relic," he said, his voice a low growl. "We will show them the difference between prey and predator." On the airfield, a transport's engines ignited. Hiroshi stepped aboard without looking back. The scent of oil and cold metal filled the cabin. Outside, clouds rolled in over the mountains, shrouding the horizon. Elena watched the ship rise, her jaw tight. She had placed humanity's future in the hands of a man armed with nothing but steel and silence. High above, beyond the reach of the clouds, the Dominion's arena awaited. The transport shuddered as it broke through the veil of the Dominion's capital atmosphere. Hiroshi sat alone in the forward cabin, his armor secured, hands resting loosely on his knees. Outside, jagged towers of black alloy rose from the planet's surface, their spires threaded with rivers of molten light. Captain Elena's voice crackled over the comm. You're being patched to the live feed. Every human settlement is watching. Hiroshi gave no reply. His gaze remained on the world beyond the viewport, a place forged for war, not for living. The docking clamps locked with a metallic thud. The rear hatch lowered, spilling cold, recycled air into the transport. 2 Zarek guards waited, each nearly twice Hiroshi's height, their armor bristling with ceremonial spikes. One gestured with a claw toward the corridor. The path to the arena was a gauntlet in itself. Alien spectators pressed against barriers, their eyes gleaming with predatory anticipation. Some hurled guttural insults, others clashed their bladed gauntlets together in a rhythmic chant. The sound was a wall of noise, like a storm pounding against steel. The corridor opened into light. The Colosseum of Stars was a colossal ring suspended high above the city, its floor a fusion of black stone and silver alloy. Overhead, a segmented dome projected a swirling view of space, punctuated by drifting warships and the distant glow of suns. Tens of thousands of beings filled the stands, scaled, furred, and armored, each one hungry for spectacle. A deep tone reverberated through the air. The arena gates on the far side groaned open. Vorthag stepped through. He was a mountain of muscle and scar tissue, plated in crimson armor etched with alien runes. His eyes glowed faintly blue beneath a ridged brow, and his plasma spear pulsed with an unstable core, its heat bending the air around it. From the elevated commander's box, Karoth leaned forward. "Let them see the gulf between prey and predator," he said, voice amplified across the arena. Hiroshi walked to the center, each step measured. The polished plates of his armor caught the artificial starlight. He stopped within striking distance but did not reach for his sword. Vorthag tilted his head, studying the smaller figure. "You carry a toothpick," he rumbled in accented standard. "I will break you slowly, so your people remember fear." Hiroshi's answer was calm, almost quiet. "The blade does not rush." The war horn sounded. Vorthag moved first, exploding forward with the speed of a charging predator. His spear whistled toward Hiroshi's head. Hiroshi pivoted half a step, the tip slicing the air where he had been. The crowd roared in approval at the violence, but the human's economy of movement drew murmurs of confusion. Vorthag attacked again, slashing in a wide arc. Hiroshi angled his armor, letting the blow glance off the steel without engaging directly. He was not fighting, he was observing. In the command booth, Elena leaned toward the display. "He's mapping him," she murmured. Karoth snorted. "He is stalling for courage." The duel unfolded in sharp bursts. Vorthag's strikes were fast, brutal, each one intended to overwhelm. Hiroshi's responses were minimal, a step here, a turn of the wrist there, his hands never leaving the hilt of his sheathed blade. Sweat began to bead beneath Vorthag's armor. His breathing grew heavier, almost imperceptibly, but Hiroshi heard it. The rhythm was shifting. Vorthag snarled and spun his spear overhead, the plasma core flaring brighter. The heat washed over Hiroshi's face, the scent of ionized air sharp in his nostrils. "You hide behind steel," the alien taunted. "Do you fear the bite of a real weapon?" Hiroshi's eyes did not move from his opponent's centerline. "I fear wasting motion." The words were not loud, yet they cut through the roar of the arena. Some in the stands tilted their heads, unfamiliar with the tone, not defiance, but certainty. Vorthag lunged again, overcommitting. Hiroshi stepped into the attack, his left pauldron catching the spear shaft, redirecting it past his side. His right hand moved at last, the blade clearing its sheath in a single, fluid arc. The steel sang. Vorthag staggered back, staring at the thin, smoking line cut across his spear's haft. The weapon had not shattered, but the carbon structure was split, weakening it. Silence rippled through the crowd. Karotha's expression tightened. Elena exhaled, her grip loosening on the console. First marks on the board, she whispered. Hiroshi slid the sword back into its scabbard in one smooth motion, resuming his stance as though nothing had happened. His heartbeat was steady. Vorthag's jaw tightened. His next move would not be for spectacle. The broken line in Vorthag's spear seemed to pulse under the arena lights, a flaw that had no place in a Dominion champion's weapon. The alien's nostrils flared, his breathing deepening, no longer concealed behind the performance of strength. From the commander's box, Karoth leaned forward, claws tapping the railing. "End it," he ordered through a private channel. Down in the command booth, Elena caught the transmission on her encrypted feed. Her jaw tightened, she knew what "end it" meant in Dominion terms. The duel's honor rules were about to be discarded. Vorthag shifted his grip. With a sharp twist, he snapped the damaged spear into two short, jagged blades. The plasma core sputtered between them, the unstable energy sending tiny arcs into the air. The crowd roared its approval, sensing blood. Hiroshi exhaled once, long and slow. The shift in weapons told him more than any insult could. His opponent was abandoning rhythm for desperation. Vorthag lunged, twin blades flashing. Hiroshi moved in half beats, every sidestep conserving energy, every block with his armored forearm designed to deflect rather than meet force head-on. Sparks leapt from steel on alien alloy, the sound sharp as breaking ice. A glancing strike grazed Hiroshi's shoulder plate, sending a dull vibration through his chest. Pain flared, but he absorbed it into his stance. He remembered his grandfather's voice, "Pain is not the enemy. Hesitation is." The next exchange came faster. Vorthag feinted high, then dropped low, one blade slashing for Hiroshi's knee. Hiroshi pivoted sharply, his heel grinding against the arena floor. The second blade followed, arcing toward his ribs. For the first time, Hiroshi drew the katana fully into guard position. The polished edge caught the alien strike, redirecting it upward in a tight circle that exposed Vorthag's midsection. Steel flashed. A shallow cut opened along the alien's abdomen. Not deep, but deep enough for bright purple blood to bead and roll down the plated armor. The noise in the arena faltered, replaced by a hiss of collective breath. Vorthag stepped back, his expression shifting from contempt to focus. He wiped the blood with one hand and stared at it as if seeing it for the first time. Then his lips curled into a snarl. Karoth slammed a fist onto the armrest. "Enough toying, tear him apart." The alien champion roared and charged again, abandoning precision. His strikes came heavy, each one meant to batter Hiroshi into the ground. The floor rang with the impact of every miss, each swing shaking the air. Hiroshi moved through the storm, his steps tracing an invisible pattern across the arena. To the untrained eye, it looked like retreat. To those who understood, it was a tightening circle. In the booth, Elena's eyes narrowed. She recognized the pattern. It was the same drill she'd seen in Kyoto's training hall, the one Hiroshi had run again and again with wooden swords. A dance that ended with only one step left to take. Vorthag's breathing was heavier now, shoulders rising with each inhale. Sweat mixed with the alien's blood, slipping under his armor plates. His grip on the jagged blades tightened, claws whitening. Another clash, steel against alloy, rang out. Hiroshi's katana traced a narrow diagonal, severing one of Vorthag's weapons at the hilt. The remaining blade sparked wildly, its plasma field destabilizing. The crowd's roar grew uneven, split between outrage and awe. Vorthag bellowed, raising his last blade high for an overhead strike. Hiroshi lowered his stance, knees bending, his left hand steadying the scabbard. The katana tilted, ready. Then, stillness. The arena seemed to hold its breath. Even the plasma crackle faded in the pause. Hiroshi's mind was not in the present. It was in the wooden dojo, the scent of tatami mats and incense, his son laughing during clumsy sparring sessions. That memory anchored him, sharpened the edge of every muscle's intent. Vorthag came down like an avalanche. Hiroshi stepped inside the arc, blade flashing upward in a perfect draw cut. The steel met resistance, then passed clean through. The alien staggered, his last weapon falling in 2 pieces to the floor. Gasps rippled through the stands. Karotha's claws gripped the railing hard enough to dent it. Elena's knuckles whitened around her headset. Vorthag's chest rose and fell. He was still alive, but only because Hiroshi had chosen it. And that choice would change everything.